We've been paying a lot of attention to state government this past few months because of the long session that's now stalled in the legislature because of the Republican walkout. But there's another state agency that's also been in the spotlight. It's the OLCC, the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission. They're the agency that regulates Oregon's alcohol and marijuana industries. And they've seen their share of headlines this year, starting with Bourbon Gate, when the Oregonian found out that the OLCC leaders were diverting rare bottles of bourbon for their own use. Governor Tina Kotek requested that the agency's executive director, Steve Marks, step down after she took office, and he did resign right in the middle of the bourbon scandal. And she replaced him with Craig Prinz, who's now serving as the interim director. Later, Oregon's cannabis industry made headlines surrounding marijuana chain Mota and their taxes, specifically that they're not paying them. Willamette Week first broke that story. They found out that the State Department of Revenue and Federal Internal Revenue Service have filed more than $7 million in liens against Mota's owners. They filed on Rosa Cazares and Aaron Mitchell and the companies they control for failing to pay their taxes. They were also behind on a lot of bills to their vendors, while at the same time donating buckets of money to state Democrats. The politicians who got the money include Governor Tina Kotek when she was running for office and Secretary of State Shemia Fagan. Fagan resigned her office after Willamette Week found out she was actually also working for Mota on the side. Kotek said she'd donate the money that Mota gave to her campaign to charity after news about Fagan's involvement came to light. And last week, she ordered a crackdown on cannabis businesses who are behind on their taxes. The governor is ordering the OLCC and the Department of Revenue to require anyone who wants to get a retail cannabis license to prove that they're current on their taxes, or at least have a payment plan. If they're not, they will not get that marijuana license. Data from the Department of Revenue shows that about 9% of the cannabis taxes for the last fiscal year have gone uncollected. That equals nearly $19 million. Other tax programs under the OLCC are only missing around 3% of expected revenue. So, yeah, big difference. If a business is not paying their taxes, they can set up a payment plan with the Department of Revenue, and that would bring them back into compliance and allow them to renew their license. But the percentage of cannabis retailers who are behind on taxes that are actually on a payment plan, it's not very much. It's only 1 in 10. So for some background, in 2021, Oregon recreational cannabis sales hit a record high of $1.18 billion. Yes, it is huge business in Oregon. And it generated $311 million in tax money during the 2019-21 biennium. Across the country, marijuana is big business too. There are only 3 states where marijuana is fully legal, and the total nationwide impact from cannabis sales in 2022 alone expected to reach $99 billion. By 2026, it's expected to grow to upwards of $155 billion. That's according to the trade publication MJ Biz Daily. But a local business lawyer representing cannabis businesses says many are struggling in Oregon. Vince Slawowski with the law firm Harris Bricken says even though it's such a big industry, it's competitive and prices are as low as they've ever been in this market. Businesses are still facing lots of challenges because marijuana is still illegal on the federal level. He said for some, it's affecting their ability to pay their taxes.
And I think what happens a lot there is people just tend to not do a good job of not commingling money, right? So they'll do a simple sale, say it's a $20 sale, 3 of those dollars are the state's dollars, but they won't set it aside, right? They're kind of in a lean spot anyway. They could use that money anyway. They've been almost using it like a loan, a lot of them, and they just have been in arrears on taxes. And the issue was highlighted by one sort of spectacular tax non-compliance incident of this Mota chain, which has been in the news a lot. And I can't remember how far in arrears they were, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And going back to 2016, and Governor Kotek got fed up with that. And she issued a directive to the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission and said, I want a rule in place such that you guys are not issuing licenses to people that are out of compliance with respect to their tax obligations.
And before we go on, let me just correct something that I said accidentally wrong a little bit ago about the number of states where it's fully legal. What I meant to say is there's only 4 states in the country where it's illegal. It is legal everywhere else. All right. The Department of Revenue says they've actually been discussing this issue for several years now, but they didn't get anything done until just recently. They say the reporting on Mota did make the issue a lot more public. But remember, the OLCC just got a new leader. Here he is.
With me coming in, it's a new opportunity, new leadership. I have a new chair. So, I think we wanted to work with DOR once we realized that this was possible through our existing rulemaking. We really felt like we could take action. And so I think that's part of why I'm here, frankly, is to look at things with new eyes.
OLCC says they're still working out the process that licensees are going to have to follow. They'll introduce a temporary rule at their next meeting on June 15th and then work on a permanent rule with input from people in the industry later this fall.